The gothic horror film Bram Stoker's Dracula, I find this to be highly entertaining. This is probably one of the best vampire movies from the 1990s, and I really do appreciate what Francis Ford Coppola did with this iconic character. Now, I actually did see this for the first time late last year, so coming back to rewatch it for this review, it was a nice refresher because I didn't remember much about the story. So based on the 1897 novel, Count Dracula ends up falling in love with a woman named Mina, who he believes is the reincarnation of his late wife, Elisabetta. When he begins terrorizing her friends, then Professor Abraham Van Helsing is summoned in order to stop Dracula's reign of terror once and for all. You know, this movie, it has a lot of vibes to it. Not just horror, but there's a love story here. Plus, this had won 3 Academy Awards for Best Sound Editing, Best Makeup, and Best Costume Design. And speaking of which, the costumes in this, they look amazing. The gothic austere look works for the story considering it takes place in the late 1800s. But what makes this movie real interesting is that these characters dealing with the menace that is Dracula definitely leads into some very memorable moments all throughout the narrative. Though I will admit, even with a runtime of 2 hours and 7 minutes, I kinda wish it was longer just so we could see more of Dracula's backstory just because of how tragic it really is. At the end of the day, without question, one of the best cinematic versions of Dracula. And while I do have minor nitpicks with the story and some of the characters, at least this is not an outright bore fest. For the most part, the acting in this film is nicely done. Gary Oldman playing Count Dracula, he does such a fantastic job. It is interesting, he looks like an old man early on. He doesn't actually become younger until probably halfway through the film. But when he sees Mina, he ends up falling in love because she reminds him of his old love, Elisabetta. They look exactly the same. Winona Ryder, she too did a great job. The chemistry between both actors was fantastic. This is really a love story, and I did appreciate it because I was trying to figure out if Mina was in love with Count Dracula or if he used his compulsion on her. I'm guessing because she could relate to him. Like, she loved the guy, even though he was a vampire. It's just such an interesting story. Keanu Reeves, his acting was awful. He's probably one of the worst things about this film. Jonathan definitely wasn't a great character because he came off as a little bit weak. He wasn't that strong because wouldn't he be around Mina the entire time protecting her from Dracula? Like, don't get me wrong, he's not a horrible guy or anything. I just felt like he didn't stand up enough to Dracula in order to protect his wife. Anthony Hopkins did such a fantastic job playing Professor Abraham Van Helsing. He's a vampire hunter. He's dealt with vampires his entire life, so to him, Dracula is just another obstacle to overcome. I did like how he initially tried to help Lucy when, she was transitioned into a vampire. And another thing, as far as Dracula is concerned, why can he transform into a wolf? Was that always the case from the vampire lore? I always thought that vampires shouldn't try to transform into wolves because literally when Lucy was being attacked, I thought that was a werewolf attacking her, but nah, it was Dracula, so I was a little bit confused about it. Like, I never read the book that this film is based on, so I just went with the knowledge of what I knew about Dracula from some of the other movies I've seen throughout the years. But I admit that Francis Ford Coppola, he did such a good job with this character. The cinematography is nice, the music is very appropriate, very gothic-like. It actually works for the tone that this film was going for. Overall, when it comes down to it, a film that is very enjoyable. It has its thrilling moments and still stands up pretty well even more than 30 years later. I'm giving this film an 8 out of 10. Yeah, I really don't have any major complaints about this one. It is a great cinematic version of Dracula. And even all of these years later, people are still talking about this. Seeing Mina kill Count Dracula at the end of this, it was kind of poetic. Even though they both understood each other, they was from different worlds. Plus, it made sense for Dracula to die at the end of the story, considering just how many bad things he did did throughout the course of this film. Nonetheless, don't know what else to say about this cult classic. It has stood the test of time with its good story and memorable characters. And that's my review of Bram Stoker's Dracula. Alright, leave your comments down below in the section and let me know what you think about this movie. Okay, this is Slim Guy 172 saying peace out.